She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gaspacho.
Important to take a lame gorilla, okay?
Right, did you know that Arsenal died?
He's got me buzzing.
Up the top, it's hard to up them anyway.
I'm not even gonna comment on that. Welcome back to Footy with the Boys. What an episode we will have today. Obviously talking Man City, Liverpool. New kids are on the top of the table, as you can see here. Arsenal, top of the table off of just goal differential, 1 point in between first and third. We'll get in some controversy and recap of City, Liverpool, a shift in the top four potentially coming here, and then the bad, the worst, and the ugly from around the league. But as you can see, Mike looks a little different today. And that's because it is not Mike. We have gone overseas for a replacement. Sam, welcome to the pod. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
And if you could not guess, he is a Liverpool fan from the kit there, so he will have Liverpool side of the big game covered here. But Nick, I'll go to you first in City. This game was, from a neutral perspective, amazing to watch. City in the first 5 minutes had me convinced off of their lineup and off of the way they came into the game. I was like, oh shit, this might not go so well. Liverpool has a lot of injuries. Man City brought out the fucking Avengers for this one. They were that starting lineup. If you can show it here, Palmer, that lineup was nasty. What they put out there, and going at an extremely inexperienced back line, I thought, fuck, this could get not as interesting as it ended up being. But as this game went on, Liverpool started to just take it over. The second half was all Liverpool. Should have, I think, in my opinion, won. Manchester City from this lineup and from who they are against an injured Liverpool, how are they feeling after a 1-1 draw that maybe they're lucky to have a draw out of this one?
8:48 a.m. Receive a text. I've watched enough. City's going to win this game from one host of this podcast.
That is like 3 minutes
7
into
minutes.
the game. Yes.
That was crazy.
3, not even.
3 minutes into the game. A very early call. I'd just woken up and he's like, it's done. I was like, what happened? What did I miss? So that was nuts. City, wow. Yeah, you're right. They had everyone available to them that they needed to have available to them. This is a team that are, like you said, they resemble the Avengers more than any other soccer team. Like, they are insane, very talented. And 1 point. 1 point out of this game. I think, listen, Anfield away on a big game. I criticize Anfield a lot when it comes to their atmosphere all the time, but on a big game, it's probably the hardest place to play in England. So it's a draw isn't the worst result when you look at it through that lens. But then you see number 78, Roberto Kwanzaa, starting for Liverpool. Pretty sure I pronounced his name correctly. You look at some of the other people there. Joe Gomez is a left back. I mean, Kelleher in goal. It's a lineup that you think that Man City could do some heavy damage against. And they could have scored a couple more, but they are also incredibly lucky not to concede a couple. One Luis Diaz had a stinker of a game, so that hurt when it came to his finishing. I mean, he was incredible, but you got to put chances away at this level, especially if you're trying to win a title. So I'll let Sam get into Liverpool, but either way, I think if you are City, this feels like a game where the opposing team doesn't finish their chances. This feels like a game that City wins more often than not. And I think in the past 3 years, they would have won this game. And more than anything, I think it's showing that it's time for a change. Top of the Premier League table. I wonder who currently sits top of the Premier League.
I wonder, yeah.
Very interesting, boys. Oh, let's check. Wait, can we check? Whoa! That is a whole lot of green on those last 5 games from one Arsenal Football Club. I think Man City missed a huge opportunity. It does not get any easier for them as league-leading Arsenal Football Club come to the Etihad next. And boys, it is a title race that we are in.
It is certainly a title race. And Liverpool, I had messaged Nick, and I said this right before starting here, that I messaged Nick and I said, would you rather just have Liverpool win this game, knock Man City down in points, and have an injured Liverpool that's just trying to get back to healthy down the stretch of the season that you're competing against? I don't believe that. Wow. I was so wrong on that. That is Liverpool today with a battered and bruised squad came out for City. And yes, it looked maybe a little rough in the first 20 minutes. But after that, Liverpool had chance after chance. Man City couldn't string together anything. They didn't look like Man City. They didn't play their way at all. Sam, it's impressive by Liverpool that they get this result, and they should have maybe won. But is it also disappointing from a Liverpool fan perspective that, man, if Luis Diaz scores one of his 8 chances and gets a better ball in on one of his 8 dribbles through 5 defenders, you're looking top of the table and looking awfully pretty here.
I mean, he did everything but put the ball in the net, which at the end of the day is what he's paid to do. So as nice as his footwork was, he didn't score. So if you'd asked me before the game whether I'd take a draw, I would have said yes, as you said, with the lineups and with the injuries we have. But at the end of the game, I was just walked out disappointed for many reasons, including the controversy we'll get into. But I guess I'm okay with the draw. Obviously, with Arsenal at home against City coming up in a few weeks, there's still a chance for us to kind of take the lead back. But a win would have been nice, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is interesting that the next matchup for Arsenal and Man City are against each other. So where Arsenal kind of benefited from Liverpool and Man City facing off here to take the top of the table, Liverpool will get put in that same exact position where they could take advantage of it as well next week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And this top 3 might just be jumping up and down on who ends up on top. But as you did mention, there is some controversy around a late penalty shout. Doku had his leg to the sky and took out
Jesus
McAllister
Christ.
in the box. Yeah,
I mean, look at
it was
ridiculous.
the argument for it, and I thought this in the moment, that he does get the ball.
Stop
But
it.
it is a
Slightly.
crazy follow through, and it would be in a very dangerous position that he goes cleats into the Liverpool player in the chest.
Look at it.
I think the referee may not call this just due to the place it was in the game. I think 88th minute was when that happened. Would have surely decided the game. And is it just the game, you think, Sam, that the ref's not trying to make him decide who wins here?
I mean, sure, fair enough, but that's the whole reason VAR's in place in the first place, right? So that if you have a referee who had to make a call when he should, you've got VAR to intervene and to make that review process. We got screwed over with Arsenal playing basketball, and now we're getting screwed over with City playing karate or something.
Okay.
Right? And
All right.
I'm not biased, of course, but at
Dude,
the end of the
he got a
day-
stud in his nipple. That's insane.
Okay.
God damn.
Take a cleat to the chest. Good
That was a
God. Doku is a big man taking a stud straight to his chest there on McAllister.
Palmer, shut the
I mean-
fuck up. What are you talking about?
Now, Palmer, I do think you bring up a point here. If McAllister turns into it, takes it head on, and gets absolutely just clotheslined by the cleat in the chest and falls back like that rather than turning and saving his chest a bit, does it not just look insanely more violent and gets that penalty shout? Once again, this is a very stupid topic that Palmer has brought up, that he would have turned into it. Would have surely cut open his chest, but for a penalty, that may be it. Nick, this game for City feels like you should have lost off of a lot of chances. Feels like you got away with one in the penalty there, but there were some chances with Doku that the second he was brought on, he made a difference. But the big controversy was when Kevin De Bruyne went out, he was pretty fucking pissed off. And rightfully so, because you are Kevin De Bruyne, and you say this about Messi and MLS as well, that even if they're not that fit at the moment, yes, he's coming back from injury. It's been a few games. I'd say give him more minutes. 60th minute, taking off Kevin De Bruyne in a game that you need a moment to send one of your attackers through for Kovacic was wild. I think he hit on one of those subs. I think he really missed on taking De Bruyne off. Do you see it the same way as me, Nick, or are you with Pep, or is he over tinkering as he sometimes really does?
You have to be able to protect your player, but also because I mean De Bruyne is not going to protect himself in that situation. He's not thinking about his health. He's thinking about winning a game. And De Bruyne is right because this game's fucking huge. So it is absolutely the wrong call to take him off. Left on best player in England apparently, Phil Foden, who did nothing this game.
He did nothing.
He had a few chances. He did have a few chances.
He put a ball like off the crossbar that Kelleher threw at his forehead. Like that is the only thing that he did the entire game. Like, come on. I don't know. I think it was a mistake. Obviously, City. Last week I said Liverpool finishes third in this title race. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel a lot better about Arsenal's chances based off this game. Sam, I know you gotta get out of here soon, but before you go, final thoughts, because this is Klopp's final season. Every time he scores, he's smiling at the crowd, just tears in his eyes, watching.
I mean, I had tears in my eyes. And,
thoughts on Klopp leaving and where you think Liverpool finishes this season?
Thoughts from Klopp, man. I mean, build him a statue, build him 2, build him 3. You
Facts.
know, he's completely changed Liverpool. Can change just the whole dynamic of. It's become a place where players want to come to play, right? Which, to be quite honest with you, 10 years ago, during the whole Fergie, completely dominating with Man United, it wasn't the way it is right now. And so I have nothing but thanks for him, but at the same time, I'm sad to see he's gone. I don't think he's retiring from football outright. I think he's just taking a break. So as long as he doesn't come back to the Premier League, which I think he's already announced, I'm happy for him, but wish he'd stay. End of this regarding the end of the season and where it will go. Obviously, we have a couple of injuries right now. We're able to beat Chelsea in Carabao Cup, but Chelsea are a mid-tier team at this point, right? So that wasn't as big of an accomplishment as people say. But I mean, I want to say we'll come first. To be honest with you, I don't think we will. I think before this game, if you'd asked me, I said City were the favourites. After this game, it gives us more of a chance than before, but I think Arsenal probably, unfortunately,
fucking
have the,
say it.
Yeah, I know.
Let's
But
go.
at the same time, to be fair, if you had to ask me which of the two I'd want to win if it wasn't Liverpool, I'd take Arsenal. I'm tired of City and oil money, dominating, and not to mention the whole fair play, like slaps on the wrist that they've had. Ridiculous. I mean, Everton did the same thing and got a 10-point, although it was reduced to 6, but a 6-point point reduction, and City just get a little fine, which is get money for these guys. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, do I want us to come first? Yeah. I don't know if we will. I mean, that goal difference is something as well. I don't know if we'll be able to make up 7 goals by the end of the season if we end on the same points. Entirely possible.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Liverpool here is probably their remaining schedule. They don't have City again, and they're not playing like a Man City. Their next 2 games are Arsenal, Aston Villa, so they have a chance to keep their run at the top here. Before we let you go, next manager is the dream Xabi Alonso for Liverpool.
I mean, when you look back at the recent runs of Premier League legends coaching their teams, you got Lampard, and you even have Rooney. And,
not where you want
Rooney, Everton, Rooney.
Right, and the same thing at Man United, right? It's not the way it hasn't worked out very well. Put it that way. I don't know. I mean, Xabi's doing well. right now, but we'll see. At the end of the day, to be quite honest with you, I'm focused on this season. See what happens at the end of the day. Yeah, the dream, sure, but I don't know how long the dream lasts once he starts to take over the team, and we have mid-tier performances, and we're looking like Chelsea again.
Yeah, I would hope they don't look like Chelsea, but Chelsea have a way of spreading their ways. Liverpool going to be in this title race till the end. 10 games left. Any final thoughts to leave our viewers with before you hop off here?
If we don't win, we were robbed by VAR. That's all I'll say. I mean, we should have won today. Should have won at Arsenal.
Oh my God, won at Arsenal.
Oh come on, man! He was playing basketball. He was.
He's making excuses before the result happens.
This fucking
Hey.
guy.
You have to. That's the Liverpool way. It never works out for us.
He's making
bro.
excuses.
The one today, but oh well. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Yeah,
appreciate it,
you
bro.
coming on.
Good seeing you, and we'll get you
Yeah.
back in here when Arsenal beats you for the title.
Fuck you.
Later, man.
All right, later, man.
Thanks for having me.
Peace.
All right, Nick, we will move on to your team, Arsenal here. And boy, this matchup they had with Brentford was not the same level that Liverpool and Man City went into, but it had all the stakes. They needed the win here to take the top of the table, and it nearly did not come until a late goal by Havertz. Havertz only needing that late goal because Ramsdale
Oh my God.
is on a different planet. I don't know what that man is doing. Because at the end of the game, he's also doing this to the crowd as if he had a worldie of a performance when he really had a worldie of a mistake. What are your takes from this one? It's a result you guys needed. You end up coming through with it, but left it till late here, and a big mistake by Ramsdale.
Yeah, my feelings is that's Aaron Ramsdale's last game for Arsenal Football Club. Like we never have to deal with the man again, who is capable of some incredible shot stopping, as we saw with that Ivan Toney header in the second half, but who consistently loses focus and makes mistakes, just like the one that we saw go in today. He is, I think, a very good goalkeeper, and I think he will go to a team, and if they ask him to do less with his feet than an Arsenal team does, I think he'll be hugely successful. But he is not reliable. He actually has good feet. He can make good passes. He distributes well, but I think he just gets on his own head when there's a press. And the last game that we played Brentford at, the reverse fixture, I should say, the same thing happened, and we almost the ball just went out instead of in the goal. So it is kind of sad for him to be his last game, for that to be his last game for Arsenal, because he was big for us last year. He was part of this turnaround, but David Raya just helps us with our domination. So glad that we won't have to see mistakes like that happen. And if they do happen, it'll truly be a mistake, not just a characteristic of a player. So from that, we come back. Benny Blanco, baby, 2 assists on the day, both to King Kai's header and to Dest's header in the first half. Incredible performance, probably the most underrated player on the squad, most underrated player in England, if you ask me. How he's not in the English national team is just purely agenda. An elite right back, if you ask me.
I don't think it's agenda. I think Gareth Southgate's just a dumbass. But
yeah, because he has an agenda. But anyways, he was phenomenal. King Kai, that is his 3rd game-winning goal of the season. People laughed then, let them keep laughing now, because we are top of the table, and he is a very big reason why. They were a little bit wasteful in the first half. We had complete total domination, and that mistake screwed us. Yeah, I mean, credit to Brentford, honestly. They're very organized. And just everyone is in this team right now. I couldn't be prouder of the boys. Everyone in this team is stepping up. They know they're in a title race, and they're focused on what they can do. And today, that meant they got 3 points.
Yeah, Nick, I think kind of the thing that I was most impressed by this is yes, you take the top of the table, but it's obviously by goal differential, it's a 1 point. It's not something that they're necessarily sticking their neck out saying, we're top of the table, we have such a lead. What I do think that this result showed you was that Arsenal, I was waiting for almost their come down. They were scoring 6-0, 6-0, 4-0, all these crazy high scoring games that weren't really contest after a second or third goal that goes in. This was a real game Brentford gave them. They, yes, gave Brentford kind of that goal there, but they responded. They got that goal. They were able to get a result, get a win here, put one in the back of the net when it really mattered. And I think Arsenal get past that hump of you're riding high, you're having easy games where you're scoring a shit ton of goals. Now you're needing a goal. It's a clutch time that you need a goal, and you're able to come up with it. That is absolutely huge. Seeing what you're seeing from Arsenal, they're coming through in this game and dominating other ones. Liverpool and City both played each other pretty well. Both sides had chances. Liverpool, I think, probably should have came out on top, and Liverpool coming back to health. What are your thoughts on Arsenal's chances here? I think, yes, you're at the top of the table, but I don't think it's necessarily anybody has any type of huge advantage. Is it just a knife's edge advantage you're thinking right now, or are you confident in Arsenal?
I watched the City Liverpool game thinking we're better than both of these sides. That's what I thought as I watched the game. That's what I felt as I watched the game. Now, Arsenal have not had the DNA, the killer instinct DNA in the past 15 years, but honestly, like in these past 2 years, right? We're talking about this year and the past season when they've been legitimate title contenders, more so this year than last year, but we held the lead for a very long time. So we choked it. That's the big question mark for me. I think it's completely down to mentality. And if we learned enough from last year and if we've hardened our minds enough from that, then I think we're going to come away this season with the Premier League title, because I think we're playing the best football in the English Premier League. And usually that tends to lead to being the champions. I think we've had some bozo moments. We've had some bad games, but overall, consistently, I think we've been the best team in England this year. That being said, I still am not considering us favorites for the title at all. I mean, you're going up against two people who have been there and done that, including the defending champions. So you're always going to give it to the defending champions. They're the champions until they're not. So I said it last week. I'm growing more confident by the second, and that is still true. I'm more confident today than I was last week, based off of not only our comeback game, but also seeing City and Liverpool play each other and knowing that at our best, we can beat those teams.
Well, you will find out very shortly. Well, actually, after international break and an FA Cup weekend, so not very shortly, at the end of this month versus Man City, if you are better and you can beat them. I want to end kind of this title talk on this note before we get into the top four race. And that is, I saw a Bleacher Report, and their report is talking about this fact that Arsenal had won 7 straight games. And it is so crazy that the Premier League now, with Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola, you can win 7 straight games, and Arsenal had gone from third to third. They finally beat that. But the standard that Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp have set at the top of this table is absolutely unreal, and it will take Arteta tapping into that wild, wild form and doing things that are unreal, not dropping points as we get down that home stretch, is going to be huge. But there were some drop points outside of that title race, and that came in the battle for the top 4 spot. Aston Villa versus Tottenham here. Nick, this game, the first half I was watching, I thought Tottenham have a decent amount of possession, have gotten some type of chances, good dribbling, but they were sloppy. They were giving up chances that Aston Villa really could have capitalized on. Second half, blow the wheels off of Aston Villa. 4-0 as it ends. Obviously, a bit more goals showing there due to 90th plus minutes. So, still, it is a tough result for Aston Villa here. 4-0, no matter how you cut it or what time the goals are scored, is a 4-0 loss with a red card to McKennie. Take us away on Villa here, because I'm sure you have some thoughts.
My bad to all our listeners out there. I predicted a Villa victory here last time on this podcast from this very chair. And it's completely my mistake because looking at this result, of course this was going to happen because I forgot who Unai Emery is at his core. At his core as a manager, he is a Class A choke artist. Bottle job, managerial jobs in the biggest, brightest moments. You cannot rely on him, which is why he's perfect for Villa. He'll get you top 6. That's wonderful. You got Champions League. Maybe you'll win the Europa League once you get kicked out of your group. But it will never be good enough to actually, when the moment counts, be the team, be the man who needs to get things done in the biggest and brightest moments. 4-0? I understand that your players were wasteful, including Ollie Watkins, who, I mean, an absolute fucking stinker of a game from a man who's having a hell of a season. But come on, 4-0 to this team, to have your captain, John McGinn, do the most undisciplined, just kick into the shins that I've ever seen in my life. Like, that's who he is. When it gets tight, he gets tight too. And so you need someone who remains calm in that moment. Aston Villa were atrocious. I don't know how you can feel good. You're only 2 points ahead. Tottenham has a game in hand. You just lost this result. Congratulations on beating Sheffield 5-0 in a couple weeks, I guess. But when it counts, Aston Villa will not be in the top 4, which I know Mike loves to preach about how, 5th might get you Champions League. Well, now it's looking less likely like that's going to happen after Brighton's loss in the midweek. So I don't know, man. I think that this is a really tough result for Villa, a really tough way to go down. And I don't know. What do you think your thoughts were on Spurs' performance?
For Spurs, I think, I will say that Unai Emery definitely choked this game in the second half. If you go into the halftime team talk and you come out getting absolutely shit on in the second half, you said something wrong. You did not make the adjustments you needed to. And there were adjustments needed, but Tottenham in that first half gave them the adjustments. As in balls that were played directly to strikers' feet from their midfield of Tottenham. They were passing it to Ollie Watkins. They're passing it to Aston Villa players to start a break so easily for them, and they didn't finish really anything off. They didn't create that much from any of it. Tottenham was pretty sloppy in the first half. I did say they had more control than Aston Villa, but they were sloppy. They gave away a lot of their possession and weren't clinical like they needed to. The second half, Aston Villa did not switch up what they were doing. They didn't wake up and say, hey, they're messing up. We need to get to that level so we can punish these. And they didn't. And I think Tottenham come out of here feeling like, all right, fuck. Aston Villa's not who we thought they were. Aston Villa was the team that could score goals, could capitalize on things, had a good, sneaky good team with a lot of players that are playing above their name value. And they didn't this game. Tottenham came out and they, in the second half, just dominated this game 4-0. And now they have a game in hand. Obviously, you don't want to bank on that going their way, but they control their own destiny. And Aston Villa is just having to hope that Tottenham drop points so that they can be still in that 4th position. I think it's for Tottenham, you're thinking, all right, this team is not as scary or as serious as maybe we thought. Is that being maybe too detrimental on Aston Villa, or is that rightfully so how Tottenham should feel after this one? I mean, 4-0, Nick.
Tottenham shouldn't feel any kind of way. You're just as unserious. The history at your club is a joke. So if you have any chess coming out of this game, fucking relax, okay? But if you're coming out of this game thinking Villa are beatable, yeah, of course they're beatable. You just smoked them 4-0. By the way, it was 2-0 before the red card, so it wasn't even a red card thing. Like, I mean, none of these teams are consistent enough to be serious threats. One of them's going to end up being a Champions League contender. Good for them. I don't see them doing anything in the Champions League next year. But obviously the revenue that comes from that is huge. If you're Tottenham, you're coming out of this game feeling like top 4 is ours.
Yep. I think it is in their hands here. Aston Villa let slip a huge opportunity to put them under a bit of dirt there. Let's get into the bad, the worse, and the ugly. And how could we not talk about something including ugly if we're not talking about Everton and we're not talking about Manchester United? And we just so happened to see them both play against each other this weekend. Did not go well for the Toffees here. 2 penalties. Manchester United, once again. Everton just cannot finish chances, Nick. If I'm looking at this from a Manchester United perspective, yeah, you get a 2-0 victory. I think one of the things that really pissed me off about this performance, and if you're in that locker room for Man U, you're thinking, what the hell's going on with Eric Ten Hag? He was out preaching about, look at the expected goals.
Yes.
We outplayed them. Look at the expected goals. Like, we had so much more expected goals. We played really well defensively. Brother, you are a manager of a historic team in England, one of the biggest clubs in the entire world, and you're chatting about stats that people on Twitter argue about, saying why their team should have won, and you actually had already won. You don't need to be bitching and moaning about little things. We played well, I promise. Like, just say, yeah, we got 3 points. I think that's what you look at this if you're Manchester United. Yeah, you got 3 points against an Everton side that cannot finish for the life of them. Good for you. You got your 3 points. Now, Nick, from an Everton perspective, I'm a bit biased, but I can also say they fucking suck. They cannot score a goal. From an outside perspective, is it not the same exact opinion?
Everton? Fucking blow. Oh my God. That game was so hard to watch. It was disgusting. I cannot believe we have 2 Toffees on this podcast, so I understand there's bias there. Just like there's bias when I talk about my Arsenal team. It's gonna happen. But we have not talked enough about how horrible this team looks. They had 1 purple patch, and that's why they're not in the relegation zone in a year where the promoted teams are horrible. Like, Everton are on, how much? 40 million for Beto? Beto, he can't do anything in front of goal. He's a striker. That's the main job. No creativity. The creativity are just crosses being spammed in with nobody capable of putting a ball in. Dom's header, like, even late in the game, is directly at Onana. I don't know how you do it. There's no hope. I don't see anything to hold on to.
There's not been hope, Nick. There's not been hope.
There's nothing like, oh yes, if we keep doing this, then we're going in the right direction. There is none of that. And Everton have been getting away with it for too long on this podcast, and I'm here to put an end to it. Mike is gone. You're hosting. I'm telling you, Everton are fucking horrible. You are lucky that teams like Luton, Burnley, Sheffield, even Nottingham to an extent, are in the league this year, because I think last year they probably could have gotten it's the same teams from last year. They escaped. And if those teams come back, which it's looking like they will, I don't see any changes on the horizon for this Everton Football Club. The future is bleak.
Listen, Everton can get the ball in 2 chances that we can score from. We have plenty of play that gets into dangerous positions, but the problem is we could put it an inch in front of goal, and it could be served up on a platter 1,000,000 times a game. There is not a single ounce of finishing ability at Everton. They are never going to score goals. And Nick, just like you said, the bottom 3 this year all got promoted last year. The top 3, or I guess the top 4, Ipswich is kind of fucking up this little graphic here, but the top 3 of the championship to be promoted could all be the ones that got relegated last season. Everton could be in trouble here, but is English football potentially in trouble with this one? With maybe that, I think it's that investment gap that championship sides coming up don't have enough money, don't have the players to compete in a uber wealthy league now. And then once they go down to the championship, if you're at a team like a Leicester, Leeds, or Southampton that can pay to keep some of those players, you're immediately at an advantage in that league. So you get into a yo-yo. Is that how you see it here? Is this an English football problem, or is this a 1-year issue?
It's a problem, but I don't think it's big enough that anything has to change. I think this year it could be closer to a one-off than not. That being said, we look at the teams last year who didn't get relegated. Who was that? Nottingham, who got promoted the year
Everton.
before. No. Who got promoted from the previous season? Was that
Oh.
Nottingham, Brentford, and someone else? I forget.
Fulham got somewhat recently.
Oh, yeah, it might have
don't
been
know.
Fulham. I think it was Fulham.
Yeah.
Those teams invested heavily. Maybe not so much Brentford, but Nottingham put in a lot of money in order to stay up, and they're
Almost too
still
much.
just and they're just barely staying up. But that's what I'm saying. Like, because they did that, they got survival, but now there's 100 cases out for them because they're probably going to have a point deduction coming soon. So that's where I see the problem. In order to stay in the Premier League, you have to heavily invest in your squad. And if they're getting tighter and tighter about financial fair play, then that's going to hurt the little guys quite a bit who try to get promoted and stay. But also, Leicester won the fucking Premier League not that long ago. Money does not run football. There is a game to be played, and if you get the right guys, Thomas Frank, Ivan Toney, then you're going to succeed.
Thomas Frank, Ivan Toney are in 15th. They're 1 point above Everton.
They had a great year last year when they got promoted, and they're not in the relegation zone right now. What more do you want from a club that is not that big, who it was their debut season?
No,
in the Prem,
I'm saying if you're using them as an example of some great team that can come through the Premier League, I just don't think
there's
Brentford
stages though.
necessarily
You have
gonna make
to you have to come up first, then you have to survive, then you have to establish a mid-table side, and eventually you can start challenging for Europe. It's a process. It's not just going to be all in one.
Yeah. Well, also Fulham would be a good example up in 12th right now. They have been a bit of a yo-yo team though. They've been going up and down for a long time. But we'll get into the rest of the Premier League here. We had Wolves picking up a win against that Fulham team there, 2-1. Good result for Wolves. I think keeps their position in the table secure there, shows who they are a bit. Sheffield, you feel for them. They had the lead against Bournemouth. Lose it late to draw with Bournemouth. If you're Bournemouth, you're probably thinking, fuck, how did we miss that chance at points? Palace, god damn it, why could you not keep the result for us Toffees? Just keep Luton down. Push them into the water. These fuckers just keep coming up for air, giving themselves a chance to survive this season. 90th plus 7 goal for Luton to get a 1-1 draw with Crystal Palace. Brighton take care of business versus Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest is dead to me at this point. And West Ham, we will get into why I say that in just a little bit here. West Ham drew with Burnley. I'm officially out on West Ham being a great team.
You're out?
Drawing against Burnley. I'm out on them. I know they're 7th right now, but I don't know. They're so wildly inconsistent. And it's not like where other teams are inconsistent against other mid-table teams. They're just also inconsistent against bad teams. So, yeah, I'm out. I don't hate that guy.
Yeah, this mid-table that we talked about being so vaunted early in the season has really kind of just been meh. Like,
it's entertaining, but it is not. I don't think any of them are necessarily like, damn it, they should really be higher. It's kind of like, that's about right.
I still think Newcastle
should maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Newcastle would be the one exception to that. Everybody else, you're kind of like, that makes sense. That's right. That's all right. We get into the closing segment, which is our U.S. Men's National Team Corner. Welcome to the U.S. Men's National Team Corner, and we have a hell of a day to recap here. The U.S. boys were going crazy and almost getting into a March camp. That is what you want to see. Starting with Pulisic getting another goal versus Empoli. He got a goal in the midweek in the Europa League as well. He's up to 18 goals and assists this season for Milan. $20 million, the investment there, and he's 18 goals and assists so far. That is a hell of an investment. Chelsea could be using some of that scoring fervor. Dest hit an absolute banger, as he does, just dribbled in from the outside, plays really mostly as a winger, knocks one in for PSV and gets their man of the match. McKennie, it was his first game back, Nick, from his shoulder being dislocated, fractured, whatever. He recovers 2 weeks ahead of timeline, gets in, starts, and he gets 2 assists to bring the game from 1-0 to 2-1. Juventus
Baller.
end up drawing that game, but he is on insane form. He is playing so well and earned his spot there at Juventus. I think, although a bit disrespectful by Allegri to say he's nowhere in the plans, and the only way that he would be part of their plans was if he started running at that moment and did not stop till the start of the season for the summer. He's shown his worth immediately coming back into that starting lineup. Haji Wright, as much as Nick does not like that I include him, he scored a brace for Coventry. He is their hero. Coventry are getting close to that playoff position in the championship. Haji Wright is their star man, getting a brace. He has been consistent throughout his entire European career, but he is not the most on-fire striker we have. That is Josh Sargent, who scores again. Again, he scores, Nick. Can this be true? Every single game he gets a goal. He's as red hot as his hair. We already made a video about it. We can't do it again. But god damn it, he keeps scoring. We need to find other ways to clue him in. Another goal. Just want to give a shout out to Norwich City for being absolute bullies to anyone with a lisp. All their goal scorers are Sara, Sorensen, Signs, and Sargent. So just stay away from the score sheet if you are a person that cannot pronounce those S's for Norwich. Joe Scally get an assist. Paxton Aronson with a goal. John Anthony Brooks with a goal, then a red card. True American fashion right there. And then Roskas Puskas with a goal. Nick, have you ever seen a U.S. men's national team base have this much continuous form? I know we've had red hot streaks before. This is definitely, I think, the hottest they've ever been going into a camp, and I think we've already discussed that. But is this the longest it has been? Really, just the entire season for McKennie and Pulisic going crazy. Sargent, apart from his injury, I've seen plenty of shouts about him being the best striker in the championship. Haji Wright's going crazy. Everybody else is just nickeling and diming in throughout the entire time. Is this the most prolonged good form the U.S. men's national team player pool has ever had?
The most that I could remember, and definitely the most with the amount of talent that we have, which is the important part. That talent that is at a level that should be performing well in clubs that they are, including a team like Milan, including a team like Juventus. They are performing. They are. The only guy who's really not, Gio, is really the only one who's not. And
don't bring him up.
Come on. He isn't even getting benched.
No, I know.
Come on.
He was not included on the squad sheet for Nottingham Forest. Last time they said it was a slight knock. Slight knocks don't usually last 2 weeks, especially when you've only played 39 minutes since being there in January. That is why I said that Nottingham Forest is dead to me.
Quick side note. I think I'm out on Gio. I think I'm out.
Out on Gio?
I think I'm out on Gio. I think I'm out on Gio. I don't know what to tell you. I think I'm out.
He is not a locker room problem.
Thank you. Please. Okay, I'm just taking advantage. I'm taking advantage of Mike and Flags not forming a cohesive team against me today, where I can just argue with Flags because it's him. It's got to be him. How else do you explain Nuno just begging for Gio to come in on loan during the transfer window, just for him to get?
I don't think that Nuno is begging. Nuno's agent is Jorge Mendes, and I think Jorge Mendes moves Gio Reyna there. I don't think Nuno Espirito Santos says, "Oh my God, give me Gio, please give me Gio."
There were legitimate.
They're not spending money on him is the problem. It's a
they
loan
are spending money on him.
They're paying his
him every
salary.
week.
They're not
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not paying a fee though. It's a player coming in on a free loan without an option to buy. They're not worried about the financials.
They are currently paying him to not be in the matchday squad. Yes or no?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank you. So listen, there has to be something wrong with Gio Reyna. And maybe it's fitness. And if that is what it is, then okay, hopefully he can grow out of that. If it is his mentality and his attitude, I understand he is young, but that is a really big issue for me. It sucks because by making this argument, I almost have to side with Triple G, and the guy's just a fucking moron. So, but there is.
I think that's when
evidence.
you know you're in the wrong. That's why you know you're
dude. But there's evidence. There's too much evidence now. This is three different clubs where this has happened. Why? Or sorry, two different clubs. Two clubs and the men's national team. There are issues going on. Like where there's smoke, there's fire.
It was not a behavioral issue at Borussia Dortmund. As Edin Terzic has said multiple times how much he is a great teammate. There's so many quotes that have come out because this is not the first time this has been an allegation of why
the first time.
But it's people on Twitter saying, I think it's Gio Reyna problem, it's his attitude. And Edin Terzic, the manager of Borussia Dortmund, came out and said, no, it is not anything related due to attitude. He has a great attitude. Other players have come out and said he has an amazing attitude towards the game. He helps the team. He's very good in training. At Borussia Dortmund, you have Julian Brandt, who is the German starter at the number 10, and Marco Reus in front of him at the 10. And it became apparent that Gio Reyna is a 10. I think that is what stood in his way there. I do think that if Morgan Gibbs-White, if Alanga, if Hudson-Odoi didn't all go fucking crazy and start scoring goals the second Gio Reyna got there, he would be given more of a shout there. I don't think it's an attitude issue with him.
Going fucking crazy. They played one good game, and he has not played minutes since. Like, he's not making matchday squads on games where they're not scoring goals, bro. Come on. Like, I'm sorry. There's no way that he is completely 100% not his fault. That's all I'm saying. And if that is the case, which I think it is, then I'm sorry, but that's not good enough for a man who's supposed to be carrying the men's national team to a certain extent. Give me Malik Tillman, who's in great form and a very talented player, and I don't think Gio should be seeing that much of the field based on what's going on in the Copa this summer.
But Nick, the thing is, he has had this where he has had limited minutes at Dortmund, and while yes, we've had Malik Tillman with the U.S. men's national team, he has not shown up the same way that Gio Reyna is because he is not Gio Reyna. Gio Reyna, when he does play, is an insanely impactful player. He controls the midfield for the U.S. He links everything together. He is that missing piece. He's the only reason that Greg Berhalter's system works for anything attacking-wise, because Greg Berhalter does not have a good attacking system, but he has good attacking players. And Gio Reyna links that midfield to that attack to make it work. I think if you have Gio Reyna available and healthy, you have to give him at least a 50-50 on minutes with Malik Tillman, no matter how good or how bad Gio Reyna is doing in Europe. He is a difference maker, and you have to give him that time to make the difference. Pulisic had issues as well with not playing.
When has he made the difference?
In the U.S. Men's National Nations League. He absolutely dominated both Mexico and Canada.
Okay, he played well against Mexico and Canada. Is that the standard?
What? But Nick, how
are we talking? We're having a conversation. Goals. We're having a conversation about the on-fire form of every American in Europe right now, and you're saying that he still deserves minutes over those guys based on how he played 2 years ago.
It's only Malik Tillman that's in that 10 role that would do somewhat similar the same thing. It's Malik Tillman or Gio Reyna, and right now Malik Tillman is doing great in the Dutch league. But if you put Gio Reyna in that Dutch league and are playing him, he is going to do unnatural things to that league. If you watch him play, Nick, that is the truth you need. Just watch Gio Reyna play, and he is a different type of player. He has a different type of talent. Just because we're not seeing it actively does not mean that he does not have it.
I am not... Listen, Gio is the most talented player in the U.S. men's national team pool. I don't think... like you said, if you've watched him play, I do not think you can make an argument otherwise. The eye test does not lie when it comes to that, okay? But you don't need to be playing with an out-and-out 10 in this midfield. We have a lot of great midfielders in form, okay?
But have we not proven that we do, though, with how bad the performance has been without an outright 10?
We only even play with an outright 10 when it comes to playing like lesser teams. I don't think you should be playing with an outright 10 when it comes against these bigger matches that you have to win now if you're Greg Berhalter. So there's that. The other is that I understand you're insanely talented. I understand in the past you have performed when it comes to limited minutes. That does not mean that that is the norm. Okay, there are players who deserve to be seeing the pitch in the Copa. We look at how long our fucking U.S. men's national team corner was today. Insanely long. I don't think what he is doing right now is good enough, obviously, to see
For
minutes.
what?
And
Any minutes.
To see
Any minutes.
heavy minutes. If he's playing more than 20 minutes a game in the Copa, I think that's going to rub some people the wrong way.
I don't know. I think he gets into the camp for Nations League. You'll obviously have him in training. You can see him and Malik Tillman side by side. I would not argue. I'm not trying to say that I would argue a Malik Tillman start over Gio Reyna and Malik Tillman getting the majority of the minutes is at all any type of absurd take. I'm saying that is absolutely. Malik Tillman has been in amazing form. But to say that you're out on Gio Reyna, that he should not be given that fair shot as well if you're seeing him in training absolutely dominating over Malik Tillman or outperforming him, you have to still give that chance to Gio Reyna in the game because he is and has proven to be, without playing time in Europe, still an amazing international player for us.
Fair shot. You just said it. I'll say it too. You need a fair shot, and based on form people are in, I don't think he makes his starting 11.
Yeah, I don't know about starting 11. I think it would be tough personnel-wise to leave Malik Tillman out of that starting lineup at this moment because he has been in some fine form. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is Gio Reyna the talent level that you just put him in, like maybe a Balogun, and say you get to start because you're just so talented? Does Balogun get a start off of his talent level?
Ballo is not starting.
I think it's Ballo or Sargent.
Starting. It's Josh Sargent. It has to be. It has to be Josh Sargent.
Probably. Josh Sargent is a man on fire, as his hair
playing
would
incredible.
Incredible. Potentially the best in the championship. Let us know what you think. Is he the best? Is he the starter? Is Malik Tillman or is Gio Reyna the starter? Pulisic, is this the greatest form that he has had so far in his career? Is it better than COVID Pulisic? Maybe. Let us know in the comments. Until next time, we will have Mike back. We will get rid of the Brits next time, but we are glad that Sam was able to join us to talk Liverpool. Until next time, peace.
Shout out Sam. Thank you, boys.